Welcome to HomeGrown The Series. I'm your host, Emmanuel Davis. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Michael Muffy Collins, father and founder of Run from Prostate Cancer and one of the OGs in the fashion community here in Chicago. Brother Collins, welcome to HomeGrown The Series.
Man, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's a beautiful honor.
Thank you, thank you. First, I want to pay respects to Mr. Albert Lee Featherstone, your grandfather, who played a very pivotal role in your life. He took you to your first All-Star game in 1988, correct?
Yep, yep.
Now, is that where the love of basketball, the love of the Jordan 3, just sneakers come from? Did that come from him?
Yeah, he definitely he was a sports guy. Really big into sports. He's the go to the corner store and get the paper. We would walk down with the note. I come from that old
Yeah,
school
for sure.
background, but yeah, just a beautiful person to all of us. But yeah, that was our intro to basketball and to footwear. He was really big in both.
Now, just knowing, seeing you around the city, you've really like taken that legacy and continue just to immerse yourself in all things Chicago sports, specifically basketball. I tried to find some stats from your high school and college years, but you were moving around when you were younger. Can you talk about your time playing basketball, whether it be at the Robert Taylor Homes or at Washington Park?
Yeah, so that's that's why I started. That's why my uncle taught me how to play ball at Washington Park. That was the highlight. Robert Taylor, played in the buildings. It was rough. Like it's just those memories come back, but it was like a beautiful time. Like I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything. We learned so much at an early age from seeing like Kendall Gill come to Washington Park to play. Maurice Cheeks. My uncles and my grandfather knew him from back in the day in the projects, from their DuSable days, things like that. So just that little bit of history, but just going around from park to park playing ball, and it just is like it turned into like this AAU thing where we kind of grew into that. We kind of we got to travel, we got to just play against so many different individuals. And I spent time in Wisconsin too, in Madison,
Yeah.
Wisconsin. I went to a lot of basketball camps, University of Wisconsin camp, University of Michigan camp, Illinois, of course. But I had a different talent at a young age that some of our elders they took me in more so of like we're gonna teach like the fundamentals, the skill set, and things like that. He may be a bit different, from the other kids. I was dunking in the seventh grade. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, and I was just a good talent. But again, I played football, basketball, track and field. I did the high jump, so all that stuff at a young age. It was like non-negotiable in our family. We have, I think it's over 15 people that went to college and play sports from our family alone. And I looked up to my older cousin, Papa Do. His name is
Hmm.
Tremaine. And he's in Portland now, but he was an All-American in four sports: football, baseball, track and field, and basketball. So role models like that were in the early 90s. I was what 10 years old, 11 years old at the time, just seeing that. Like that's so much inspiration and influence where I saw so many kids that didn't have the opportunity that I had. You know what I mean? So I really, really just stay focused. I love school. I was a book person. I love to read books. That's another thing I got from my grandfather, just like the importance of education. So I took everything all in one, and then with the sneaker stuff, that was all in emotion because my uncle was a part owner of Athletic Express in the early 90s. So going to work with him, with shoes and boxes and planning and doing things like that, that was my grand entry into this football world. And in the 90s was explosive.
For sure.
Unforgettable
You're
time.
probably the right person to ask this question. Would you rather see Chicago, I mean, the South Side versus the West Side in the basketball tournament, or Chicago versus Chicagoland?
You know what? That's a good question. I think that Chicago land has produced so many people, so you don't want to exclude, it
Yeah.
out. I really wish we were to make like brackets you know what I mean, south, west, over east, north, because you get to see it so much time. There's a lot of guys that didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even go to college that was so much better than I've seen go to the pros. You know what I mean? So that's the beauty of the 90s era. It was like everybody can play ball, but it was like, you know, when you played against, your number could get called anytime.
Mm-hmm. That's what's up, man. Now I got into not necessarily a heated debate, but just rattling off like the Zeeks versus the D Rose, and you got to go throw Benji in there, and it's like Chicago to me is up there with PG County in terms
Oh
of
yeah,
just raw
yeah.
basketball talent, or just athletes in general. Where
Hmm.
would you rank? I guess we have to say the state of Illinois in terms of producing professional athletes.
Well, not trying to be biased, but I've been to my best friend coaches at George Mason. He's the head coach,
Okay.
Tony Scan. And so we had these debates all the time. He's a DMV, PG County guy. And I'm like, well, look at the history of Chicago alone. Um, 50s, 60s, 70s,
Mhm.
80s, 90s. It's a long list. We're talking about the most NBA players that from one city is from Chicago or Chicagoland. And so we're talking about arguably some of the best point guards you've ever seen play. You got Isaiah Thomas. Then you can speed it up, Jamie Brandon, and you go Derrick Rose. You got the guys that didn't make it. My cousin Sharon, he played a year in the NBA, but you put him in the kind of this mix of players in the national championships, and how many players played to the tournament, and then the history of
Mhm.
how many individuals went on to play Division One ball. So the list is so big. The category from big to small, like you can't make this number up. This is a real deal. Seeing the different programs around the country, how competitive ours was, there was nothing competing with the prime at IIT. Let's just be real. I like the Drew League. I love the way they're going. I think we could have done the same thing here in the city, but we just lost momentum, lost direction, lost structure. But I think if we pull everyone together, the OGs have set the tone for that. We can rebuild, that legacy.
Speaking of legacy, you're spreading on with your children as well. What are those lessons that you are teaching them coming up with sports and just being young black men and young black women? What are you instilling into them that they can continue to add to this world?
Yeah, just to be smart and make like the best decisions, because everything else is going to take place. You know what I mean? I think that this decision making, we're seeing so many youth, they don't know what to do. There's no guidance. So all I can do is tell them like this is what happened 10 years ago. This is what happened 15 years ago, 20 years. You could just teach them lessons and you don't want to repeat, especially with your kids. I think most important, like with my daughter, like I said, the twins are 16. And so she's a volleyball American and track and field All American. And then my son, he's basketball. And so the pressure is on them because they're youth and they see so much on the internet and things like that where it's like they're not even sure if this is the right thing for them in their life, which it is, but the pressure of how the world it changed so much from us not having social media to now it's just driven. It's like
Mhm.
this is your life. So I tell them to kind of like don't pay attention to what the perspective is on an athlete or whatever it is. You have to deliver and you have to make your own. And so with that, I think that things will be better for them, like from a mental perspective, from a child place, it'll get better. But those are my teachers to them. Just stay focused.
For sure. You mentioned structure and getting wisdom from the elders. You gained a lot of wisdom from that those conversations you overheard at the Ace Soul restaurant. Can you talk about that time?
Yeah, yeah. It's Uncle AC on the restaurant 63rd and Vernon. And that's where we created Run from Prostate Cancer in the back room. So on Wednesdays and Sundays, non-negotiable is for the church committee for them to have their meetings and for them to eat. dinner together, just to try to restore the community. And that, that's a special, special thing, a special time. But most importantly, just listening to all the stories from street perspective and corporate level. You had a mix of guys coming in where it's playing poker or shooting dice, whatever it is. And that's what you learn so many lessons. And they will tell you in a minute, like, okay, this didn't work for me, but I wish I would have had this information and technology. As we say the same thing with our generation, we wish we would have had this type of technology, but you keep driving force into the next generation. And I think that's what they were giving to me. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we know that just what you want to do, you want to help save men lives and things like that.
Hmm.
So we can, kind of recenter and move things forward. So that was like a stepping stone from a guys coming out of prison and things like that, and then learning how to channel ways and make the proper decisions. So just hearing is so many stories being told, like what I did wrong, and how I could
Hmm.
maybe I should, spend more time in the community. Maybe I should have saved more lives. Maybe I should have done this. So when you get older and you figure it out, like, oh shit, you know what? Let me make sure I help someone that don't make the same mistakes that I made.
What challenges do you see? Because at least from my eyes, you've lived a full life and continue to live a full life. In my 34 years, I've seen the disconnect from the elders, from the OGs to the young kids. Why is it a disconnect, and how do we repair that?
I think we're not doing a great job collectively in passing information down. We don't take time. We don't understand that we all made mistakes. We've all went through challenges. We all drove to the wall before at some point in time. So it's like, how dare you judge the younger generation on just mistakes they made? You can correct them, you can talk to them, but you can't talk at them. You can't talk down to them. You have to build them up, because you never know. They could be at their lowest point of their life and they made a mistake out of not knowing what to do, not knowing how to react, not knowing who to talk to. So that's one thing that I pride ourselves on in our foundation. Like, we love talking to the youth. We love like their ideas, their vision. And even with them saying, I didn't know I can create. And us teaching them, yes, you can create, you can build, you can grow. You can do so much, in your life. You got opportunity every day you wake up. So just giving them hope and giving them the feeling, but most importantly, like, what do you dream of? And then we receive dreams, receive what people want to do. It's like, well, how are you gonna get there?
Mhm.
So now you're opening their mindset of like, okay, I can do it this way. Um, and they're not telling me no, I can't do it. You hear teachers are telling and kids you can't do this. Like, how dare you tell a student they can't dream big? That's so unfair. So unfair. So that's the disconnect right there, where you have, some adults that say, hey, let's get the kids in and out of school. And that's that. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. You have to nurture them, feed their soul. Once they get out of school, you don't know if they have anything to eat. You don't know what's going on. So if you ask the questions and just believe in them, now it changes violence. Violence is an act of, I have to do something, whether to hustle, to steal,
Mhm.
it's a survival mode, right? And so why are we still playing survival mode in our communities? And we should have been advanced from that. But you can't disconnect and run away from anything. So I love our youth. I think they're so vocal. They're so driven. I just think that they're being shifted and guided by the wrong individuals that may be older. From like the music, and they're telling them to do this, opposed to like, yeah, it's a different way you can communicate. You can be open, you can be free, and that's where the mental health is coming from too. That's the other disconnection. We're not talking to our kids enough, and we're not spending time, family time either, has went down the drain. And I'm not just going off of like in your household. We're talking about the community family.
Correct.
Okay, let me call up Emmanuel and see what they got going on in their neighborhood and see what the kids. And I remember going from different neighborhoods. We played ball, we played softball, baseball. whatever it is. But our parents knew that we were at a certain area all day long. And you will have a Miss Johnson, so to speak, that will cook us all food and make sandwiches, just little things like that, where it's like, okay, this parent was not gonna let a child in the neighborhood go hungry. It
Hmm.
wasn't gonna happen. And she was gonna, if you did something wrong, she was gonna call your parents or whoever was taking care of you. And so that's the other thing. Our kids don't have any fear of like, okay, I can't get in trouble if I do this. Like it's like I don't have any fear. So not saying we have to put motion in a bad way, but just hey, you
Hmm.
gotta respect your elders. You gotta respect the people because they're looking out for you and not trying to hurt you or harm you. So we have to get back to that to connect, with our babies, man, and we just gotta love them more.
Absolutely. That was a powerful statement. And you said sense of community. Also, when we were younger, they had programs. Whether it was, I did National Youth Sports Program at Daly College, NYSP, for
Mhm.
like 3 years when the school was out. They had the after school programs where you learn about tech and you learn about nutrition and they fed you. And I feel like what you're saying, you would be a great alderman, but I feel like a lot of people steer away from politics because of it can somewhat tarnish your
Yeah.
message and somewhat hold you back from what you actually can achieve. Have you ever considered going into politics, or do you feel like you're going to have a greater impact doing the work that you're doing right now because you don't have any limitations?
Yeah, I think that with the politics, it's so tricky because now you have to be friends with people that you may not, you know, it's laws, it's gun law. Like example, Barack Obama re-signed the gun law 2012. I think that was a force. I don't think that he wanted to do that, but when you get in those positions, you have to do it. And it affects your community, affects your
Hmm.
community with job placement and things like that. So that's my thought on political. Like I have to stand back from afar because it's, you may know red and blue. You may know people that are trying to change laws and things like that. You always want to take a step back to see what's going on and see how you can change your neighborhood from that perspective. And so that's where I stand. I'd rather just keep working and building my community from a ground level and grassroots opposed to going from a political standpoint. Now, if it made sense for me to do those things to get everybody on the same, train and things like that, yes, I'd be totally down with that. But when it comes to like the community work and building and developing people, because some adults you have to help out too. You know what I mean? They may have gone through so many things in life. Okay, you got to change it, or addiction and things like that. Some things you can't do from a political standpoint. You know what I mean? Like by law, and then I got all these laws and legal things that takes place. But when you are on the ground, everything is confidential. You know what I mean? Even like my prostate cancer foundation, we do screenings every month, and that's all confidential, and it's for you and your family to discuss like if you have the cancer, or we just keep promoting the preventative measures, just doing the little things like that. But if we're removed from the groundwork, then it's like those possible ways it changes the impossible. So I think that's what we go through in our society.
Since you started your foundation in 2015, what are some of the biggest things that you've learned about yourself?
Um, I learned that I was very patient. I learned I was a very extremely patient person. I didn't know. I've been told that before, but I just didn't know how patient I was and things like that. So just having that understanding, and also having the understand, like, you know what, maybe I am a younger OG, so to speak, because this is what people my age, I'm like, we're the same age. You know what I mean? But maybe it was the lessons that I learned from uncles and people in the community that I took in. Maybe it was books that I read, maybe it was just information I received, and I may not comprehend it different to give to my sisters and my brothers. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think with that starting, and that's what I learned about myself. Like, you know what? You have to be patient with so many people because it's a lot of us going through so much trauma, and you don't know who's going through it. So you have to be patient. And that's what I live by. And that's what I learned about me. Like, you know what? I continue to be patient.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk on the Run from Prostate Cancer Foundation. First off, thank you for doing that work. It was needed and it's continued to be needed, and you continue to educate young men and just Black people in general. Besides the cancer, are you focused on preventative measures like what we eat, what are we consuming? How do you go about addressing those conversations and breaking those generational curses of just our nutrition and how that plays a factor in our health, overall health?
Oh yeah, it's I started with myself. One, because it is all it's diet. Diet affects your prostate. It affects your colon. My grandmother died from colon cancer at 52 years old in 1999. That's extremely young. So that means that she was dealing with this for maybe 10 years because it develops over time. And so our practice is all about nutrition and movement.
Mm.
Um, you have to sweat. You have to move to remove your sweat glands, to free them rather. And stress has caused cancer. And so the more you sweat, you reduce this cancer. So that's another conversation we have, like with the trainers, with the sports trainers, where even some of the black doctors we've been in conversations with, it's the same thing they speak about. Stress levels high, it opens up so much in your body that you don't even know. That's why I always say calm your nerves, because you can explode from the internal segment, not just the outer. And so nutrition is a major thing because meat and dairy are the killers for prostate cancer. And we talk about this so much. I cut out red meat in 2008. Um, it was a older brother that just, we talked about it because I said it doesn't make me feel well. I'm always sick when I eat red meat. And growing up, I really didn't eat it like that. I didn't like the texture of it. So over time, I said, I'm just going to stop altogether. I'll stop eating red meat. And a few other people, they followed my footsteps. And then it evolved to I was, I eating turkey here and there. And then it was 2017, they cut the dairy out. It was just cheese, like cheese pieces with the kids and stuff. So that's when I became a vegan. And I noticed like the difference, like what the doctors say, the dairy and the mucus and things like that opens up the cancer cells. So they have charts, and we bring nutritionists out to speak about this at the prostate health seminar. So like Erica Robinson, she speaks about it time and time again on her experiences where she had 5 people in her immediate family had cancer at one time. And so I think she was in her early 20s at the time when she discovered, okay, I'm gonna go to Loyola, I'm getting my master's in nutrition. And the information that she gives to so many guys, it's like they've never heard this before. They never saw it, they never seen a different food chart. And it just helps you out from a mental aspect too. Even from the kid level, they can't function off of eating Cheetos in the morning and drinking rare 40s and drinking pop and everything like that. Those
Dog,
are chemical.
I remember our lunches. I went to Beasley and King. They would give us a slice of pizza, a fruit, and milk. So that's dairy on top of dairy. They would give us a Thanksgiving meal, and they would just always put the milk or the juice with it. I'm like, who's really pulling the strings behind this? Because that stuff doesn't help. And I
Yeah,
think and my wife and I talk about it all the time. Once you start, I think, unlocking and figuring out self, you have to start with what you're eating. And once you do that, you start connecting the dots as to why they got rid of all the quality grocery stores on the south and west side,
mm,
why they're feeding us this food versus that food, why does it cost more to eat healthy when I can get a 4 for 4 from Wendy's and feed my entire family?
yeah,
And it sucks that we have to continue that. Not sucks, but the reality is they're holding back that information and forcing us to eat and live a certain way because it does drop down the life expectancy and forces us to use the medicines and go to the doctors that are telling us, no, you're going to die soon because of this.
mm,
So you mentioned mental, along with the nutrition and the screening for prostate cancer. How are you guys tackling the stress? Are you providing counselors to talk so that we can decompress before we even begin the treatment for the cancer?
Yeah, we teamed up with Northwestern University, and they have a counselor support team, for guys that may be diagnosed with cancer, which is huge. We need that in our community because we've been fighting so long for just free screenings. And the law just passed on January 1st, where you can go to the doctor. Every man now can get screened for prostate cancer for free. And so we're a part of that fight, and it's so prominent in our Black community for us to know these things, and we just don't know them. And so having those Black doctors come out, that's counseling and support on its own because we never seen it. We never saw that, like, okay, a Black doctor's telling me what to do and what not to do. That's a huge thing. It's a huge practice. And so now that builds trust, and that build, okay, it's a relief. Now someone looks just like me telling me what I need to do. The trust is there. And so, with that, we worked with a brother named Donzel. He does mental health as well. He speaks to men and youth, and he does a great job because there's no judgment. We shouldn't judge anyone. Everything should be from a caring standpoint, from a I love you brother standpoint, opposed to, are you going through this? Then it's impossible for me to go through that. We deal with death. We deal with cancer. We deal with, gun violence. The list goes on. Boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
So on an average Black man, Black woman, it's like, look at all these layers we have on us. Still got to work. Still got to take care of kids. Still got to do. The list goes on, right? Can't make any excuses. So when you have all this stuff on you, it's like you're being held in bondage by yourself. You know what I mean? And so that's one thing that I love, that how we kept evolving, and we say, okay, what do brothers need? I need someone to talk to. Okay, we got you. Okay, we formed this group where it's okay to speak about health and diet, nutrition, what you got going on in your personal life. So these are the steps that we have to take, and that's why we focus on the youth, because guess what? They're next up.
Yes.
Chad Boswick passed away from colon cancer, right? At 45 years old. They changed the national screening chart just because he passed away at 45. So now it's at 40 for colon. So why are we waiting for our 40s and 50s to get screened for prostate cancer if you've been eating this stuff majority of your life? So I've been advocating 25, 30. But it's training the mindset. I gotta go to the doctor to get screened. I gotta go because women go to the doctor once a year off top. We stopped going at what, 18, when we don't have to take a physical anymore. And
Yeah,
so
I'm curious where that mindset came from in the Black community, like especially in the Black men. Why we are afraid to just go to the doctor, get a normal physical.
yeah, I think it's part of the Tuskegee experiment. That was part of it. And then it was like driven. And I think it was the media. They overdid it because they
Mm,
want us to hear about the experiment so bad, where it's like, okay, well, you don't have to come to the doctor. We'll cure you with food, or we'll cure you with this, or medication.
mm-hmm,
We'll
mm-hmm,
get you. You don't gotta come here.
mm-hmm.
We'll get you the long way, which turns to more money and things like that. So, contrary to what so many believe, America is designed by plan and action. And so this is what happened. I think that's what tore down the trust and everything like that. But I will say, like, we have more of a conscious mindset. It's becoming where it's like, just look into it, just listen, maybe read about it and see what the options are, how you can grow. But most importantly, like, this is your life, and what's most important about your family and everything like that. Those are the major factors that we need to be a part of in terms of communication with health and development.
You were about to start going down a rabbit hole. It's not even conspiracies, but just the agenda and the plan that America had for the African American community and how we're still dealing with that till this day. Um, yeah, that was that was heavy. I didn't want to go too deep with that. But
Yeah.
on a lighter note, How can people get involved, and what events do you have coming up?
Yeah, we have June 11th. We have an event coming up on June 11th, Sunday. And so we have the screenings that take place, and it is free. It's once a month, and it's a very prominent thing. Like it's huge. It's humongous. Like it's the biggest thing is getting the information out there for you to come out. And sometimes people they hear it like, okay, we'll be there, we'll show up, whatever the case it is, like that. Then they come in like, oh, it's only 15 seconds. So we draw the blood as quick. You get
Mhm.
your results in 2 to 3 business days, hands down. And so
Yes.
it's right
Yes.
away. So that's what we have coming up, and then we have the basketball tournaments coming up. That's in September, September 2nd and 3rd. So that'll be there. And we have brought a lot of information for you to have too. But we have the screenings once a month, and it's now it's growing. It's many men getting screened, but most importantly, talking to the Black doctors and urologists that are getting the education out there. And the panels for the people, we do them every other month. So we talk about financial records. Records is like huge in the community that we never talk about. Business, growth, community, Black love in the community, all the things that we really don't hit on, we pull from that. It's a major factor. So those are the events. Now I'll send everything to you for you to have, but more than welcome to come out and meet people. And it's a good networking tool too, because you have some good people that come out and say, hey, this is what I want to be a part of. This is how we can grow. This is how we can take things to the next level.
For sure. Yes. Send that on. Send that on to me, and I'm gonna make sure that I spread it on my social media. You had mentioned networking. You've been making sure that people know who you are, working with universities, working with Lululemon, with Nike. Why is it important, one, not only to network with those brands, but to keep them honest and put their dollars in our community?
Yeah, and that's a struggle too, because sometimes they just don't listen or they don't support.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They support maybe temporary, maybe put their name on something, maybe just like, oh, we show up, but how are you showing up throughout the year? What are you doing to create maybe jobs and different things that may affect so many people over time? And it's unacceptable. You know what I mean? And because they want us to spend our dollar with them time and time and time again. But we don't receive, it's minimum. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
we have to do for self. We can't wait on them. We can't wait on anyone to do for us. And we have to find ways to pull numbers together and to make things work. And that's high priority. That's high visibility. And that's where it goes with that. But most importantly, like I don't depend on any of those companies. They may say they'll call you to reach out to you, but that means like that you may not get a call or email back. You're just waiting. So the more and more we find do for ourselves and can continue to grow, now we have a next generation come behind us, just working everything out.
What does support look like? Not only from your community, but well, I guess community is the only thing that matters. What does support look like?
Support looks like from a standpoint of numbers, right?
Okay.
So we talk about numbers and metrics and things like that. So if you say if I pull out 10 to 15 individuals, the information travels to 10 to 15 more. It multiplies. And so that's support. That outweighs money in the long term. And we haven't figured it out yet. We see it every time we look on. It's another big deal from another stadium or another this or another family that has bought this. Those are long-term deals. They never went like for a direct cash grab or anything like that that's can affect the business metric or the mindset. That never happened. So, but it happens in our community so much where we have to figure it out how to support. So everything is not about money. It's about you being there and then the money will come. But also with corporations, there needs to be more Black corporations producing in their communities opposed to, taking the money and the revenue and then running out. That's
Mhm.
not so important. And then say, oh, well, you write us a letter or you No, you come out to see what's going on. The same people that made you, you need to reproduce and make more. And so I think
Absolutely.
that's what we take a dip at.
Absolutely. I'm gonna pivot real quick, because I've seen you in person, and I've never seen you in the same pairs of shoes. You're always in a nice. You pull off a jumpsuit really well. You dress nice, man. I just want to tell you that.
Appreciate it.
Whose sneaker collection is messing with yours?
I don't know. It depends. I'm more of quiet. I don't like to
Okay.
really tell people, you
Oh,
know what I mean? Like, no, this me you talking, no, I'm
yeah,
just saying
yeah,
in
yeah,
general.
yeah,
So some
yeah,
people
yeah,
like, oh, I didn't know
yeah,
you collect shoes or whatever. But
yeah.
um, like one of my favorite collectors is from Houston. So we used to work together.
Mm.
And just a beautiful collection. Like I like all brands. I just don't. I'm not just a Nike or Adidas guy or hype. I like so many different brands. Um, and over time I've collected. I think I have over 1,800 pair of shoes now in general. So like but it's been a long time. Shoes from high
For
school,
sure.
and just hold on to things. But I love like Ty has a great collection, like beautiful balance. You know what I mean? That's what I like. It's the balance of it. Few of my guys in LA, because in LA was getting a different assortment of just running shoes in general from the New Balance and Nike and different colorways. So I think just across the country, like there's some good people that have like some beautiful collections that are like solid, nice. You pull it out, like I didn't even know that shoe existed. So I love that type of thing. Not like the what everyone else has.
Now, the way I was trained is, in terms of mics, it's OG colors or nothing.
Hmm.
But the shoes that Nike has been releasing in the last 3 to 4 years, the quality has just gone down. Have you experienced the same thing? Like the paint
Oh
isn't as
yeah,
good. What's going on? If you have any insider knowledge, what's going on?
I think it's fast, like fast food. Just
Okay.
keep producing something and keep making it. We don't care about the consumer anymore. Because you can compare I have some of the old pairs, when they come out years ago and comparing it now, it looks totally different. I mean, it's the same concept, same colorway, but it looks different. Some of the new colorways are nice, and they do put some better quality performance or whatever it is into some of the stuff they want to push out more. But collectively, they haven't been doing a great job over the past, like I would say, 7 years.
Hmm. Yeah, ever since the countdown packs left, it's been downhill in terms of mics.
Oh yeah.
Um, any parting knowledge that you can give to the viewers just about prostate, just about Chicago, or what makes Chicago so great?
It's the hard work, the city, the people, the influence of structure, and so many people that has done so many prominent things. I think that's the deciding factor for me. That's like what makes the city so great. You have the history, you have the Black history, you have the even the political movement that we have. You have our gang structure. You have to embrace it all because those people protected so many, gave so many jobs. Even from the Black education, you look at so many people that come from here were just not notable people for the country where they made global impact. And that's all from the city. So you can't just discount people. You can't discredit, what they've done for the communities from a music, from an arts perspective, culture. You look at the best magazine all time, Ebony and Jet. It's from here. I mean, that's was one thing, and then from TV, from film, from sports, and so when you have all that, that's what makes Chicago so great. And people always wanted to thrive. You know what I mean? And it's a hustle mentality. It's good and bad. It's like we're gonna make a way for something. So yeah, people make fun of like the new hustles and strategies or whatever it is like that, but it wouldn't be a different from 20 years ago if that was available for people to survive and eat off of. And so that's what makes the city so great. I just think, do we still have progress? Yeah, we still have some progress to make and things to do to help build each other up. But I wouldn't change the the Black concept that was created in our city. Because it was if you really look at it, it was a takeover. We migrated here.
Mm-hmm.
You still look at, we still run Chicago. Our sisters and brothers in New York can't say that they run New York. So that's what we have to understand. We have to embrace it about our city from younger generation. Oh, we still set the tone.
Absolutely, we do set the tone. Brother Collins, thank you so much. I appreciate all that you do, all that you're doing to educate Black people about prostate cancer and just sharing the wisdom that was shared with you. Thank you so much. Peace and love, man.
All right, peace, brother. I appreciate you.
And that was another episode of Homegrown The Series. Take care.
This is Chicago.